So we have many issues to discuss over the next few days. And I want to focus on what we have achieved from the resolutions adopted at the 2017 UNDE Triennial Convention in Victoria. I want to talk about bargaining, grievances, workplace complaints, cannabis in the workplace, and contracting out. So I'm proud to say that due to the hard work of your national executive and the dedicated staff at UNDE, 90% of the business carried from 2017 convention has been completed, including Resolution 37. Reimbursements are now made by direct deposit, just as you had asked us to do. Resolution 44. Each local now has a specific UNDE email address. Resolution 54 had us increase our security procedures. Resolution 67 was the travel policy that you requested. Resolution 74 had UNDE support every request to create a PSAC National Young Worker Committee. So, as for bargaining, well, we've been bargaining or trying to bargain our collective agreements. Most of us at this room today are in bargaining or about to be in bargaining. And we all came together to develop a long-term national strategy regarding bargaining and NPF. For those Treasury Board members that aren't familiar with this, NPF has a different collective agreement for every single site. Imagine if we did that. They all have varying rates of pay. Remember when we used to have the zones? They don't have anything near that. We're going to be asking you to help them with that mobilization. So when your brothers and sisters, regardless of who your employer is having some challenges with bargaining, we need to all come together and make sure that we're there to help each other so that we can continue to push and move forward. We also have the PA, SV, TC, and EB bargaining with the Treasury Board. So far it's been insulting to say the least. To offer a 0.75% increase with no retroactivity for 2 years is beyond ludicrous. And they've increased that 0.75. And you know what? They said also that they're going to forget about the no retroactivity. We are going to pay retroactivity. So aren't we amazing? And it's no. You know, so these are some of the challenges that our bargaining teams are facing. They work tirelessly to ensure you and your members that you represent get the very best contract available to them. But they can't do it alone. They need you to help them. They need your membership to come in. UNDE with PSAC will be ramping up pressure on the various employers and government through mobilization to get proper and full responses to members' bargaining proposals for all of our bargaining units. Our top priorities are to obtain fair wage settlements, but we also need to see improvements in areas such as work-life balance and leave provisions and workloads. So it's of the utmost importance that we show up to mobilization efforts to show the employer that we fully support our brothers and sisters representing us at the bargaining table. So in regards to grievances, we need to continue to hold the employer's feet to the fire, to respect what's already being negotiated, and to seek legal avenues to do that. For example, GDI, bargaining last round, sat down with the employer and they were able to sway the employer to move up their income to $15 an hour. So now that Doug Ford has been elected as the Ontario Premier, one of the first things he did was cancel minimum wage from the increase to $15 an hour, which is very surprising because he ran on a platform being there for the people, which is the first thing he does is roll back on people. So because because Doug Ford did this, GDI decided that they would follow his lead. And they simply refused to implement the wage increases now that they've signed off in their collective agreement.
Shame.
Yes, it is shameful. You bet it is. So PSAC and UNDE are going great guns fighting this, and we will not rest until this is stopped, that the proper wages are put into place. We've been having ongoing discussions with the Department of National Defense regarding delays to scheduling grievance hearings and responses. So I have a little bit of good news. The backlog for classification grievances has been greatly reduced. From an average of a 4-year timeline, from the time that it gets filed to the time you get your response, this has been dropped to less than a year. So we still have many staffing relations grievances, and there's classification grievances that are attached to that. So we need to have the staffing relations, like the work description grievances heard, and then the classification grievance will follow, and then we'll have it built up. But that's how much he's been able to work at it and keep going and keep pushing. But part of the delay, most of the delay, is due to the employer. Part of the delay is a lack of information coming from the grievers. So we need to work. We need to do better getting that information up to national office. We need to be able to provide our labor relations officers with the tools to be able to have those grievances heard. So having those changes in the classification is significant. However, we're not satisfied yet, and we do feel that the employer could do better, although we are certainly walking in the right direction. Human relations vacancies at D&D have contributed greatly to the delays in our members who are experiencing delays in their staffing relations grievances being heard at the 3rd level. And we will continue to pressure the employer to ensure that they arrange their affairs in such a manner that it will better enable them to meet with the negotiated timeframes that we've already negotiated in the collective agreement. If we agree to these periods at times, they can't be telling us that our grievances are untimely and then taking years to respond. They have to do better, and we'll continue to press them to do better on that. We have Sister Brenda Lee Blaney, so she'll be providing information later on what constitutes a unfair labor practice, because unfortunately we have a number of them up in the air right now. So another hot button topic, cannabis in the workplace. National Defense seems to feel that they can order employees to disclose their private medical information and designate an employee as performing a safety-sensitive duty, and then forbid them from consuming cannabis, a legal drug, during their non-working hours for up to 28 days in advance of their shift. You would think that D&D could manage their affairs better to be able to predict when this is going to be used. So we are definitely going to be challenging this. D&D continuously seems to feel that they can order their employees to just manage their personal lives however D&D sees fit. They like to tell us things like, you can't travel outside the country unless if you give us notice and get approval. If you receive an inheritance, you must come tell us. Do you have any farmland that needs to be brought past us? This is none of their business, and we're tired of these continuous infringements on our personal lives. So we are telling them, no more. Every member is entitled to a safe and healthy work environment, and the employer's focus ought to be placed on that as well. Communication Security Establishment, for instance, they didn't implement a cannabis workplace policy. They said, we have an impairment policy. Don't be impaired at work. Seems rather basic and obvious to us. They've been able to maintain a safe and healthy work environment. So this is what we're asking National Defence to do as well. So together with PSAC, UNDE is mounting a legal recourse to tell D&D enough is enough. Civilian employees are not military members, and we can't be treated as such. We cannot continue to have our personal freedoms infringed upon to suit their convenience. And Trudeau, he needs to be reminded that the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that his father's government voted in applies to public servants as well, and we're not going to rest until that is recognized. So, I was proud to march this summer in Ottawa's Pride Parade, as I have done every year since I moved up here. But this year, I was able to do it with our own UNDE Pride flag. This is something that was designed by the Human Rights Coordinators Committee, led by UNDE National Human Rights Advisor, Brother Paul Jones, who's also currently organizing the second two-day regional HR coordinator meeting. So hats off to you, brother. I think this was something that was well received. We've had ongoing efforts to have the government adopt the firefighter increased contribution rate of 2.33% after 25 years of service. We've had a Facebook campaign, visits to members of parliament, letter writing, presentations at the Public Service Pension Advisory Committee meeting, and just yesterday we met with the newly appointed Treasury Board Secretariat President, Minister Jane Philpott. This has been a very long battle for this group, and we will continue to fight until we receive pension parity with all the firefighters' counterparts. Contracting out our members' work. I know I'm going on. I'm almost there.
You've got lots of time.
But this is important stuff, you know? Like, you need to know where your union is and what's going on with it, right? So I hope that you're able to pass this information on and be able to bring it back to your membership. So UNDE has sustained multiple efforts from governments to contract out the work that our members at National Defence perform. We have fought strongly to hold our ground and protect those jobs. How bold is that? They just think that they're going to come in and start taking over these positions and everybody should be fine with it. Well, Brother Reg said, like hell you are. And he quickly onto the You Could Be Next campaign, and these guys held rallies. They were engaging the members of the general public and their own membership like nobody. This local, they work very hard at being able to engage people. They are very dedicated executive, and they're always there. When I call them, they show up. So they were able to get media attention and lobby their MP as well. These coordinated approaches resulted in the department committing to a change the way that they have conducted business for as long as anyone recalls. It's now the work of these members that has placed a very bright light on the way that D&D conducts business. When the department now wants to contract out our work, they will now need to submit a business case which actually demonstrates a value to Canadians, rather than just continuing to play the shell game with their money, saying, oh, it comes out of projects over here, it comes out of this. They need to be able to show there's one taxpayer, how are we doing things? So on January 15th, at a town hall in Kingston, the base commander announced that the cleaning jobs will remain within the public service. So UNDE will continue to challenge all contracting out of our work. However, as the previous examples indicated, we cannot do it without the help of the membership. We need you to monitor those contracts and vacancy management reports at your workplace. We need you to let us know when a contract is coming up in advance, as much advance notice as you can give us. And let us know, is this work that should be performed by public servants? Even if it never has, should it be? And if it should be, let's do something about it. We set up a committee within the National Executive that's just getting together so that we will have a committee that's always available to all of you to provide the expertise and guidance that you need. So when you give us a call and you phone up your VP and you say, hey, I think we need to get a closer look at this, you will immediately be contacted by a member of this team to help organize that and help you go through that process and walk you through it to figure out what it is that's needed. So we need you to continue looking at this. It's going to take some work on your part, but together we can do this. We do have a great deal of work ahead of us, but we need to recognize that we've had some tremendous successes over the last years due to the efforts of all of you as leaders and due to the membership as a whole. As your national president, I want to thank you for those efforts. I want to thank you for the work that you do and for your membership, for the members as an entire whole, and for the movement, the greater movement of the union.